Hello and welcome to our 5 minutes with Ekaterina war vlog about Dnipro, the central Ukraine. I'm pretty sure that you were watching and you were following all the international events surrounding war, and Ukraine now is back on the first pages of the major newspapers in many countries, especially in the Western countries. And regretfully, it's because of the big scandal in the White House when the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was meeting with the American President Donald Trump, and regretfully this meeting didn't go very well. And for me, it showed that our Western allies, our partners, don't think that we are the independent country, and they still think that we are kind of an object of the international relationship, and only Russia in this war is a subject with which they should consult and should negotiate. And it was very painful because, as for me, Ukrainians proved their subjectivity when the war started, or the war escalation started in 2022. And exactly after 3 years, we have this ridiculous situation around of the peace negotiations. Hopefully, at some point, there will be negotiations. But the whole idea here is that we don't want to give up our country. We don't want to become the part of the Russian world, and that is crystal clear. We are fighting Russia for already almost 11 years. Soon it will be 11 years. And since Russians occupied Crimea in 2014, we started to drift more and more out of the Russian culture, out of the Russian sphere of influence. This process started earlier, but the military invasion of 2014, it just accelerated this process. And any negotiations that are saying, give your territory to Russians, give your people to Russians, put the government that will be pro-Russian in Kiev, reject NATO, reject European Union. That's something that is not acceptable for Ukrainians, and Ukrainians do have subjectivity and do have the right to speak on their own accord. And if you think about what happened after the Second World War, when the United Nations were forming, these big countries were negotiating, and they said, oh, we should disregard small birds just not singing or like just creating some noise, and big powers should decide how the world will live. I disagree. I strongly disagree, and I do believe that small countries, they also have the right to self-identify and to choose their destiny, to choose the way people will live there. And this is something that we were fighting for, and that's why it's not acceptable to negotiate the territories. It's not acceptable for us to pay Russians, because Russians have to pay for what they've done to us. And also talking about this potential negotiations, we need to mention that Russia still attacks Ukraine, and specifically Russia still attacks Dnipro every day. And when I'm saying every day, I mean every single day. And tonight, there was 13 hours of the air alert, and there were drones attacking the region. Regretfully, yesterday we had arrivals. We had arrivals in Dnipro, and it's ridiculous. Today we also had arrivals, and yesterday it was a school. So they managed to damage a school. They managed to damage the residential building. Thankfully, yesterday people were not wounded or were not killed. But it's a miracle, because I know the place where it arrived, and there is a big hospital nearby. There are a number of smaller hospitals. It's a big complex where we have a few hospitals around. And again, this school which was affected, thankfully at night when children were not there. And I don't know how, by which miracle, again, when this drone hit the place, the half of the residential building was just destroyed. And it's just a big thank you, to high powers, to God, that people were not inside, because it's just a miracle. And tonight there was an arrival to the infrastructure and to the specifically to railway. And as you know, we don't have airplanes anymore or civil airplanes anymore because Russians hitting it in the air. And as you remember, MH17 when they just hit the plane and they destroyed the civilian aircraft. That's why we are not risking it. And the train is the only way of transport, only reliable way of transport. Our roads are not in a good condition, so you cannot really travel by bus there. And if you don't have a car, you have to take a train in order to move anywhere. And the trains were delayed as the energy, the railway infrastructure was hit. And also, uh, they're trying to hit the energy infrastructure. They're trying to hit any substations distributing the electricity. But thankfully now the weather is warmer. For example, without heating, in my apartment there is 15 degrees Celsius, and 15 degrees it's not comfortable, it's not a comfortable temperature, and you kind of need to heat it more. But if you're dressed up, if it's a daytime and you're dressed up very well, you can live there. And if you have, for example, an electric blanket and or electric bed sheets and you're turning it on for the night, it's warmer in the bed. So it's not terrible, and people also want to save some money, so a lot of people, they just turn off the heating. That means that the pressure on the energy infrastructure is less, specifically from this heating or not heating housing. And because of this, people have electricity, and we don't have many blackouts, if any. So there are blackouts in certain areas because of the arrivals, because of the bombings, because of the drone attacks. And not major ones when they hit the energy infrastructure, like big substations, for example, or big electricity stations. And also, I'm trying to limit myself from the news. That's why I wouldn't tell you a lot of what's going on. But on Facebook, I saw the footage of the bomb arriving to the hotel in Kryvyi Rih, and Kryvyi Rih is the Dnipro region itself, and we are very close in terms of these connections. Russians thought that it will be Russian in the very beginning of the war invasion, full-scale invasion, but people in Kryvyi Rih who are all Russian speakers, or primarily Russian speakers, miners, workers in the factories, they resisted Russians like fiercely, and Kryvyi Rih is the part of the region that is very wanted by Russians, but where we will not even let them in. And they try to take a revenge, and they bomb the specific hotel where usually the foreign delegations or foreign journalists are staying. And it was the second time when they bombed the specific place. The first time a journalist died because of the bombing, and now it happened the second time, but without casualties. And when you see this footage, when you see that the rescue teams, they're trying to save people, and then Russians know that they arrived, and they just send in another drone or another bomb on the same spot just to kill the rescue team and everybody who is wounded already. It's heartbreaking. It's something that you cannot get used to. And when we are talking, going back to the peace negotiations, there are no signals from Russia that they want peace. They keep killing us, they keep destroying Dnipro specifically. It was a big attack, because the previous time we were talking, I told you that it's a big attack on Odessa, it's a big attack on Kiev. Now they started to attack Dnipro because they're kind of taking turns, and the majority of bombs, they will fly to one city. And now it's kind of our turn, and we have a lot of bombings, a lot of drones, a lot of attacks daily. So there are no signs that Russians want to negotiate. The front line is still not stable, and despite there are some good news from Pokrovsk region, and the Pokrovsk town is a Ukrainian one. Russians wanted to take it in September or in October, but it's still staying. We are losing territory still, and for example, we will have to withdraw from Kursk region, which I'm less worried about. It's far from Dnipro. I'm mostly worried about our frontline part, but doesn't matter where if Russians advance, then it's bad. And they're definitely not going to stop. They're definitely not going to negotiate. The thing they want is to capture all Ukraine, to absorb Ukrainian army, and then to start invading the rest of Europe. So that's it. That's the update. Thank you for your support. Please do talk to your friends. Do advocate Ukraine. I was scrolling Facebook and I saw some supporters of Donald Trump who are not bad people by itself. They're farmers, they're workers, and they have very good intentions, but they don't understand the roots of conflict, and they don't understand that Russians want to destroy us. They think that it's more like a partner war, or it's a war where Ukraine is. Sometimes they even think that Ukraine is aggressor. So what we need to explain to these people, to these voters whose opinion matters, that Ukraine is not an aggressor. It's a victim of aggression, and Russia is totally responsible for it. Russians keep bombing our cities. Russians keep advancing and keep killing our soldiers. So Russians are still kidnapping our children from the occupied regions, and everything we were talking about, it's still ongoing. There are no signs from Russia that they're ready even to have this temporary peace agreement, even to accumulate more forces. They just want to take us, and they would not stop on Ukraine. So that's it. That's it for today. It's a very worrying time. It's very worrying time. We don't know if we will have support, if we will have um, any chances to withstand Russia, and we don't have any chances without the United States of America, for example, because only they have enough weapons to help us. But right now, the best solution is to hit Russia badly on the battlefield, and it's not about just stopping and giving them more time to kill us. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for all your support, and I hope to see you very soon under way better circumstances. Goodbye for now.